So, Nicholas,
Mm.
where do ants eat?
I don't know.
At a restaurant.
That was not.
And welcome back to TLDR. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. With me, as always, is my hunk in crime. And together, folks, we are the Woodward Bernstein of the Dork Shared Gooniverse. Fryer, my guy. How's it going?
It was going better until you told me that joke. I feel like there was something else I wanted to give you shit about too that bugged me, and I can't remember what the heck it was because my mind is so much in a different place today. You know, because I can't wait to talk about the books that we're talking about today at length. This is this is going to be something else today. Joe's going to be talking about a rather sexual book, and I am also going to be talking about a rather sexual book. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Lord knows I get screamed at when we don't do catching up. But how have you been before we get to catching up?
A good balance of catching up and a good balance of reading a lot of the books that came out this week. Didn't get to all the ones I wanted to, but got to a few real doozies.
Yeah.
So I caught up. I've been reading Detective Comics 1051 that came out last week. I feel like that was always a bi-weekly book, and now it's just getting cranked out, every week, which is friggin'. I'm here for it. I'll take it.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. Batman 120 caught up. It's fine. It's fine. It's nothing to write home about. I mean, I feel like Batman over the last handful of issues, pretty much anything going back to Fear State. Like, Fear State was good to start, and then it just really became too much and really hasn't rebounded since. Crossover.
Crossover. Yes.
Oh,
I
baby.
told you.
Yeah,
oh my
that was
God, it was
something else.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely something else, and I can't wait to see where this goes from here. And then a couple of the books I wanted to touch on just a little bit more in length here. The Joker, issue 11, because I wanted to read that ahead of issue 12 coming out, which I did read. And I got to say, 11 and 12 were the best two books, since, the first arc ended. Because the first arc I thought was fantastic. And then, everything from like 7, 8, 9, 10, like it was just like, okay, it was fine. It was fine. And then like the last two issues, 11, and then the book, the 12 that came out today, that was awesome. That was back to sort of what sort of got me in love with this series to begin with. And I kind of lost sight of that a little bit. So can't recommend that enough. It's back on track. Really good. Love where it's going. And then a couple of AWA books, Nicholas. Crimson Cage #2. I finally got to that one. And I know you're not a wrestling guy, but I can't wait to talk about this one with you because, it is Macbeth. It's Macbeth set to the wrestling world, but even wrestling, like all the storylines you get from wrestling, at least, in old school wrestling, like Macbeth is just like a perfect story to tell. And it's been fantastic. And then Knighted #3 is another great series from AWA.
That's one of the better, we've talked a lot about AWA on here, and we'll continue to do so. But we've had of the ongoing stuff they have right now, this is one that I may be enjoying the most. I know we just started another title, The Fourth Man, which is the second issue that came out this week. But I think Knighted right now, Hotel's my favorite, but then Knighted. That's what it is.
Right, but Hotel, kind of dropped a bit with that second issue. So I can't wait to see how they rebound. We'll get our hands on that on New Comic Book Day. But what I love about Knighted is it's just that classic superhero story, but with the absolute dunce that is the main character. So that's been fantastic.
Yeah, and I've really been enjoying that one. I caught up on a few things as well. Woman Without Fear, issue 2, of course, that's Elektra. Yeah, that has been awesome. Spawn 325, I still got to read 326. Shadow Man 5 from Cullen Bunn, of course. Valiant.
Oh, nice.
We don't talk about Valiant out much side of Shadow Man, and it's been this series has been great. It was on pause for a little while. New artist, still like the change and everything. I think the first 4 issues are in a collected edition now, so you can go pick that up. But Joe and we do not have any background with Shadow Man. And Cullen, when we talked to him, last year, we got to catch up with him at some point. His guy, spoiler if you haven't seen the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett, but Cullen's guy, my guy, Cad Bane, makes an appearance. So, we're starting that train now of trying to get Cullen to write a Cad Bane book, because I've been wanting this since the first time we had him on, if not, longer than that.
And we'll have to
Um,
talk to him about that because he got really geeked up about it, and he said he would love. So the fact that we actually got him
yeah.
in a show was tremendous.
Yeah, so and the character looked great. I had the persona and everything was awesome. So we'll talk about that, hopefully with him down the line. And then Moon Knight 7, of course, Moon Knight 8 is out this week. And actually, Joe, that takes us into what's new for this week. We'll start off with Marvel like we usually do. We have the Amazing Spider-Man 88 Beyond. Now, this is the return of John Romita Jr. So this is going to be they're going like with some. We're not reading Amazing Spider-Man, but it seems like this is a big deal for those who are reading the title. Obviously, for those who care about the character, maybe looking to read some Spider-Man, now seems like an important point to pick up on. Secret X-Men issue 1. Did not read this yet, but I do intend to. Obviously, there's a lot of good stuff out this week, so hopefully I make some time for it. Star Wars High Republic Trail of Shadows issue 5. I think when this is a collected edition, I will give this one a look. As for the things that we're both reading, the only one that we're both reading right now is Devil's Reign issue 4. Actually, that's not true. You're reading X Deaths of Wolverine issue 2 as well, but did you catch up on Inferno, or are you just saying screw it and going based off what I gave you?
I I think I'm just gonna say screw it and
Mm,
just go. I still haven't read X Death's #1 yet, which I got to do.
mm.
So I've hemmed and hawed. I wanted to catch up on other stuff before I did that, but yeah, man, I got not even halfway through Inferno when I said, "Fuck this."
Yeah, you have like this. Yeah, because I couldn't disagree with you more on this one. Like Inferno was really well done. I really enjoyed it. 4 issues. I know it's a lot, but like I thought everything about it was good. But anyways, we'll get back to Wolverine in a second. But Moon Knight issue 8, Darth Vader issue 20, which you're reading, and Hawkeye Kate Bishop issue 4. So are you through 3 issues on that one, or have you read the first 2 of Kate Bishop?
I've read the first 3. I
Okay.
meant to get to #4. I just didn't have time.
Well, there's as we go to the next titles, we'll see that there's a lot. But X Deaths of Wolverine issue 2, I just wanted to add, like, I think this. I said it, just a second ago. This is one where you needed to read Inferno before, but it absolutely is tying into X Lives of Wolverine. So for someone like you who is enjoying X Lives, you need to read X Deaths too. You're gonna
Yeah.
like it. It's really well done. It's Percy. It's not Hickman. So
Oh
like,
yeah, I just haven't. It just like I said, I just
yeah, it's a handoff and narrative. Obviously, it's Percy. I'm sorry, that was stupid. But anyways, like it's really well done. It's at a really fast pace, and there's a lot. X Lives of Wolverine is like you've said is very trippy. X Deaths is more like a high paced action like story, but at the same time there are still a lot of question marks there. So it's really well done. I'm really enjoying both. I like this one a lot more than the first issue of X Deaths of Wolverine. When you read them, the two, I think you'll understand why. I don't want to get into any specific details because of spoilers. But anyways, what do we got from DC this week?
we have Bat Cat #10. Wah,
Mm.
wah. The Harley Quinn Eat Bang Kill Tour #6. I am Batman #6, and then you're reading Batman Urban Legends #12, Batgirls #3, and Future State Gotham #10. And then I caught up on, or I'm reading Detective Comics 1052, Joker #12, as I said, and catching up. These last 2 issues were absolutely tremendous. You're giving me everything I want. I mean, it's a Jim Gordon story. I've said that time and time again, and I feel
Mhm.
like when they actually got into the Joker stuff, it's when it lost me a little bit because
Really?
yeah, right.
That's wild.
Yeah, I know. It's just because the way he's writing Jim Gordon and the chess game that's going on is it's just so much more fascinating.
Hmm.
Plus, there's something that happens at the end of this issue. And you're like, what? Oh, so absolutely tremendous. Superman, Son of Kal-El, #8. This continues to be another great series by our guy Tom Taylor. And then lastly, Pennyworth, #7, which was the end of this sort of mini series here. It was a good series. I enjoyed it. I don't think I'd talk about it on the show. I don't know if it is one of those books where I would rave about and say you must read it. It was good and solid. I enjoyed it start to finish, but that's about it.
So I okay, duly noted. I mean, I fell off after the first one just because like I like Alfred, but like not enough to read a full origin story series on him. I know he got like a show or something. I don't know if that like came and went really fast. It seems like it did. But so you would give it what, like a B level grade on this, like a low
Yeah,
B?
yeah, somewhere, 8, out of 10, 7.5, 8. I probably enjoyed it more than most, and
Mm,
I could see why someone like you would probably like, yeah,
yeah.
first issue wasn't my thing, but
Mm.
again, like I said, it was good.
I will admit on these three DC titles, I'm on top of. There's that one week for me where there's like a ton of stuff that I'm right on top of. Was a Deep Target. It's there's Deathstroke Inc. And DC versus Vampires. Right on top of all those, these three titles. I know Batgirls is only 3 issues in, but I'm absolutely behind on all of these right now. Batman Urban Legends is a thick thing to read every single time too. So, after the Red Hood stuff and the what was it, the Grifter stuff, there were still good things in there. Don't get me wrong, like the Robin stuff, Tim Drake was interesting, but I kind of got lost after a couple issues, and then that's where it's like catching up on that thing is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Future State Gotham will be easy to do that with, but it's the black and white. Like it's like if I feel like if you had the colors, it would keep me in a little bit more.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
because for that series, you obviously have talked about how much it bothered you that you just wouldn't stick with it.
yeah. I just said, nah, I'm good.
I
Can't read
understand.
everything. Can't read
Nope,
everything.
you can't read everything. But we do try and do that with Image Comics. That's for damn sure. And obviously they have not a crazy week for us with Image, but definitely some heavy hitters. And we are going to be talking more, as we said off the top, about some other Image books. And I meant to mention this when we get to what's new. I want to kind of make sure people know this. If you haven't already listened, if you haven't already subscribed to the show and you're just watching us over on Twitter, YouTube, where's it? Oh, and Twitch, wherever you guys watch us, you can listen to us. It's definitely a little more convenient. You can do it on the go, and subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you guys listen to us. Geeks Worldwide Radio, of course, we're over on the SoundCloud there. So it may be a little bit easier for you guys, by all means. And rating and review would be helpful as well. But anyways, back to Image. Radiant Black issue 12. Read that. Awesome. We get the origin story of the Pink Radiant. Pretty cool stuff. King of Spies issue 3. We don't get the advanced review copies of that right now. Kind of understandable because I think like the first one did so well that it doesn't need that extra pub. Sucks because I'd like to read it for the show, but I will do it's on pace for me to do a full length episode of it. That first issue was outstanding. The second one was really good too. But the big one, I think, I hesitate to say the big one because those other two are awesome titles, Joe. But the Scorched issue 2, you made a point to text me right after you read it, and when I read this thing, man, I was like, "Oh, this is some violent ass shit." Oh my god.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, you want to talk about being at an 11 all issue long.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just go, 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 go. And I remember I went back and I re-listened to the Sean Lewis interview we did
Mhm.
talking about the Scorched. And one of the
So
things that
much
stood
fun.
out to me was that he kind of chuckled and enjoyed the fact that Gunslinger Spawn and regular Spawn don't like each other that
Yep.
much, and they've got
Mhm.
to work together at times, and that was pretty evident in this issue. And I just read that, and it gave me a good little chuckle, and absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think that was the first bit of it where we kind of got that like tense back and forth between the two.
Yeah,
And if you're reading, for those reading Gunslinger Spawn too, like there's some other stuff going on with Gunslinger Spawn. Timeline wise, it's a little bit confusing where that fits in, but still, like there's a lot going on with that character right now. Rightfully so, because he's got a great look and he's got a interesting personality. And he's also like one of the weaker hell spawns that there are. So there's a lot going on with him. But yeah, I could still use a little more she spawn. I think the rocket launcher stuff with her was really cool.
yeah, but that was it. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
have loved more She Spawn for sure.
and look, Sean told us we're going to get more she spawn, so I'm very excited for. I mean, even in this title, we're getting more she spawn than we are pretty much everywhere else. But just I can't get enough of that character. I can't, and honestly, Sean's kicking ass with it, and Gunslinger Spawn has been great. We've both said it already. It has moved Spawn, just the main Spawn, the one that's been around forever, to fourth on the list of the Spawn books that are coming out weekly right now. It's King Spawn #1 with a bullet, and then depending on how you feel, it's Gunslinger or the Scorched. I feel like it's whatever comes out that week. I like more between the two, and then the other one's 3, and then it's Spawn, and like it's just Sean is doing so well with these characters. I like. I know, like, I don't even want to think about the future. Like, I'm excited that he's doing it, and hopefully he stays up with this stuff for a long ass time.
I still
Um,
haven't read Spawn from issue 322 on.
See, so there you go. So
Right.
you've yeah, and for those who've been interested in Spawn, maybe saw the Spawn movie and back in the day and thought or the cartoon and thought all that was cool, but never read Spawn. Joe's not a Spawn reader big time either, but now you read The Scourge, you read Gunslinger, and you read King Spawn. And you'll love all of them. So if you haven't been reading the main title, you don't have to stick on top of stick on with the other 3 books or even one of the other 3 books. But King Spawn's definitely the one to read if you're going to read just one of them.
No doubt. No
Also
doubt.
from Skybound, which of course prints through Image, we got Redneck 32 this week. What about from Boom?
So from Boom, we have Faithless 3, issue 1, restarting this week.
Mm.
Magic the Gathering number 11, which I know you've been reading.
Definitely behind on that one. I fell behind on that a while ago. Yeah, I want to read it more. So it's just this, like,
Yeah.
Image makes it tough to, like, honestly.
Yeah.
This is probably what they want to do. Like, I would assume any publisher. Image makes it really hard to stay on top, like really on top of everything else.
Yeah, because
It's
so much comes out. This was the lightest week they've had in terms of volume of books, right? But they had some real humdingers come out.
Those are all priority books for us. Like, those are right at the top of our pile. All 3 of them.
Mighty Morphin 16, which you've been reading.
Really good.
And then 2 other books that we're both reading. Buffy the Last Slayer number 3. I read this the other night. This is a good book. The pacing's a little slow.
Yeah, it's I
Pacing's
think
a little slow. Like,
yeah.
I nodded off a few times when I was reading it. Granted, I was reading it later at night. I was tired anyways, but like,
yeah, that'll do it for you.
It's got to pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna look back on this series and let's say, like, it's solid. It's fun. You get like enough characters from the past. You get some kind of newer stuff, and like what they do with Buffy is pretty interesting. But yeah, I think at the end, like, this is gonna be a B range book. If you're a Buffy diehard, we both liked Buffy quite a bit from back in the day. So, like, yeah, like if you're that kind of a Buffy fan, I think it'll work for you. And also, Mighty Morphin, I did review that for Geeks Worldwide. I think I gave it an 8.5 or like a little bit better than that. But yeah, coming to an end with the Altarian War, I'll probably talk about that a little bit more next week because the final issue of that event is next week. But
and who's writing that book?
Good stuff from Ryan Parrott. Yep. Good
right?
stuff.
So Peepers popped, folks. Peepers popped.
Yeah. Peepers popped. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. But we got one more book that we got to talk about from Boom.
Holy shit, 7 Secrets. I mean, Tom Taylor just fucking slinging it, baby.
Oh,
just
man.
slinging it. Holy shit.
Oh, like this. Okay, so for those who haven't listened already or if you haven't read 7 Secrets, we talked about this a while back. I did an episode on it.
About twice.
Right. That's true because you did it. I forget which trade you did it on. And I can't remember the episode I talked about it, but I talked about it after the first arc. Joe then went and talked about it in a trade. And obviously we're talking about it ad nauseum. Now, this is an awesome series. I really enjoyed it in the first arc, really enjoyed it in the second. The start of this new arc has been next level though for this book. I mean, 13 and 14 have been outstanding comic books.
13, 14, but even the way that the second arc ended, like the setup, 11 and 12. So from like 11 on, like it was a really fantastic series. But then like 11 and then you get then 12, 13, 14, like boom, 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 have just all been like, huh? What? Holy shit.
Yeah, and I gave 13 Comic of the Week when that came out that week, something that I've been doing now for Geeks Worldwide for a little bit, a very little bit. And honestly, Joe, like I kind of feel like I might give it to 14 again. I won't decide on that officially until Friday when I write that article, but it's like, man, this thing is just moving at an amazing pace right now. And the shit that's going on and the ending, it's like, what the fuck? Like, there's just so much. And with Tom Taylor, as always the case, no one is ever safe. So it was such a good issue. But yeah,
the storytelling's been fantastic because it's not like you're not getting swerves for the sake of getting swerves. Like it's just, man, it's just fucking good.
Every detail matters in the story, and I like
make this a TV show now.
Yeah, make it a TV show now. I think make it a TV show. Yep, and I hope that Tom Taylor has like. There's definitely a lot of room to keep going with this story. I just hope that there's no issues with like DC where they were like, you kind of have to go on a hiatus after the first arc and put it in a spot where like you can come back to it later because I'm gonna be pissed. if that's the case. Like, I don't want any of that nice house on the lake bullshit. Like, we don't want,
Yeah.
I don't need any of that stuff. But we move over to Dark Horse, Last Flight Out, issue 4, Hellboy and the BPRD 1957, Forgotten Lives, issue 1. You're talking about books that I'm behind on. Hellboy is one that, like, I like Hellboy. I just with everything else, I'm just behind on it. Apache Delivery Service, issue 2, Norse Mythology 3, issue 1. That's, of course, Neil Gaiman. And then we got Daisy issue 1 this week. This is a book that I was interested in when I saw the cover art, so I may give this one a look. I'm not sure, but I am interested in that. From Aftershock, we get Bylines and Blood issue 2. We don't get their review copy, so I will be giving this one a look. The first issue was solid. This second one's got to win me over, though. It's got to be a little bit better than that. What about IDW and AWA?
So IDW, TMNT, the best of Jenica. Like, you can't have a best of something when it's only like so old.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Like, it's
2
basically
years old?
just every issue, right?
Yeah.
Like that there is. But Star Wars Adventures
Stupid.
14, and then Swaggins Violet has her own pull list now at Newbury Comics.
Get out!
And it's My Little Pony Generations. Number 5 drops this week.
That's awesome. Are you going to introduce her to sex criminals too?
I don't. Not for another, hopefully, 20 years.
Okay. Oh, you're going to be the one that I think that's good.
Well, so I actually
should be the one.
I will actually touch on that at some point, because I do think that at least the first arc should be required reading for, like, high school freshmen.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
it really should be.
interesting.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. But one thing I want to touch on before we get to AWA, Dark Horse, Last Flight Out, number 4. That's on a short list for talking about on this show.
Really?
I'm enjoying the hell out of that series. Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Ooh, I do remember you telling me that after I think the first issue. I remember you telling me that. Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's sneaky good. And then lastly, from AWA this week, we have The Fourth Man, number 2, which I love this series. I love it. I think I like this a little bit more than Knighted, because I mean, they're completely different stories, but like, this is just so it's up my alley in terms of crime and the seedy underbelly of of the used car business, which is it's been fantastic, and I love Diodato's art, and the characters, the likenesses of the characters. You got someone who looks like James Caan, you got someone that sort of looks like Norm Macdonald, you got someone that looks like
Paul Giamatti,
right? Like,
yeah,
it's fantastic. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I just can't put it that high above Knighted, because we've got 3 issues of Knighted so far, and it's been quality from start to where we are now. And The Fourth Man, we haven't read the second issue, but it was a great first issue, great opener. But
I've read the second issue already. We've got it.
Oh, we have it?
We have it, Bray.
Oh, I didn't know we had it. Son of a... Well, it's just...
Jesus Christ, Nicholas.
Okay,
one
well,
job.
I didn't think that we had that. Okay, well, I just... Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's tremendous. It was a great second issue.
What is going on with your laugh there? You got the Davey mic going today, or what? It's like the inverse or something like that. It's like a helium balloon. I don't know what that was. That was something.
And then lastly, we have Hotel number 3 dropping this week.
Okay, we didn't get that one, right?
No, we didn't get that one.
Okay, no. Yeah, okay. So that one's gonna be like, look, I'm gonna read all of Hotel, the second volume of Hotel, but obviously we wanted to see a little bit of a bounce back after that last issue, because it just didn't really do it for either of us. But that is it for what's new. It is time for us to move into the Image Comics Hour, our Valentine's Day special, if you will. Doc, what book are you talking about today?
Well, I don't know what hashtags you use, Nicholas, or if it's just the fate of the universe.
Oh my!
Working, but like it is porn bot central in the chat right now, and they must have known that we were getting naughty with today's issue, because this is the first one. We've made it. We've made it.
Yeah,
porn bots.
Loveface XYZ online strips without clothing. Loveface XYZ will satisfy your wishes online. A lot of repeats on that. So, that's something.
Yeah. Okay. So it is, celebrating Image, 30 years of Image Comics. We have 2 bangers today, pun intended. And I will get us. See, See, Doc's got it.
That's me clapping, just so everybody knows. And not some other sound.
Yeah.
You got to be careful
It's gonna
today.
be it's gonna be that kind of issue today, folks. So
Yeah.
I'll be talking about Sex Criminals from Image Comics, written by Matt Fraction, art by Chip Zdarsky, letters by Chip Zdarsky, and colors by Becca Kinsey and Chip Zdarsky. So this is really the book that put these guys, on the map. And this is 31 issues where the numbering goes issues 1 through 30,
Mm.
and then the finale is issue 69. Nice. So
That's amazing. Okay.
leave it to those guys
Mhm.
to do something tremendous as that. So quick synopsis: a sex comedy for comics. Susie's a normal girl with an extraordinary ability. When she has sex, she stops time. One night she meets John, who has the same gift, and so they do what any other sex having time stopping couple would do: they rob banks.
Okay.
So this book is, how do I put this? It's absolutely wild. It's fun as hell. It's absurd. It's juvenile, but it is smart and brilliant at the same time.
Hmm.
I'm going to say something here, and I don't want you go, what? What are you? Let me finish.
Okay.
So I would put this book in the same vein as Saga. I'm not saying it is Saga. Saga is on a tier all to itself, right?
Okay.
Like Saga is, right? What I mean by it's in the same vein is what we love about Saga is that, I mean, it's got everything we want. It's badass. The storytelling is fantastic. Yes, it's wildly weird and absurd and sexual, but again, it's also like it does it in a way where it's not obnoxious, where it's not over the top, it's not, hit you over the head, you know, with everything. Like
Mm.
it's done very well. And that's what Sex Criminals is, because this book could be just very juvenile, which it is, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
like it could be misogynistic and juvenile and just, doing it for the sake of doing it, right? But it's not. It really makes you think. It's thought provoking. It's You could have told me, Nick, that this book was written by a woman, and I wouldn't have questioned you one bit.
Hmm.
So it is absolutely stunning that this book is written by two dudes, right? Just because of the way they write the female characters in this. Like I've said this time and time again about Zdarsky. What I love about him is how he writes characters. It's the same reason why I like Sean Lewis and I love Jeff Lemire. Like there's just something about those guys. Like their ability to draw out human emotions and
Mhm.
get to the root of whatever it is that they're trying, to portray. And Fraction does that wonderfully. I thought like he did a great job with Clint Barnes in Hawkeye, right? And
Yep.
he really gave that character different layers, different depth that I enjoyed while I was reading it. And I've got to read more Matt Fraction.
Mm.
That's one of my big takeaways, right? Is I got to read more
Yeah.
Matt Fraction because he's in that same ilk there. And so like when I said a few moments ago, like I think like at least the first arc of this book should be read in high schools. It's because it's thought provoking. It is, you know, they're able to write, these female characters as if they have like, an in-depth, intimate knowledge of how the female psyche works. And I just thought that was
Mm.
tremendous because I was talking about this to my wife and she goes, "A guy wrote that?"
Really? Okay. Because that
Yeah.
so as you're going through all this, I don't like. We're two guys talking about a book and saying like you would think it's written by a woman, but then could that mean also, well, we don't know what women think and yada yada yada. Like
Yeah.
to assume that they know, but now that your wife's confirming it, okay,
Yeah.
that carries a lot more weight.
Yeah, she's like, "Really?" Because I was like, just what happens in the first issue, and
Hmm.
I was explaining it to her. She goes, "Wow!" She said, "I would actually like to read this book."
Get
Yeah,
out, because she doesn't read any of the stuff we talk about, right?
no, she doesn't, and so it's so enjoyable, and the humor is great, and you get a lot of the humor through the art, right? Which is classic Zdarsky because when we talked with him, like you get that, like it just comes through. He's just a naturally funny, sarcastic, wisecracking guy, right?
Hmm.
And that shows up in Fraction's storytelling and also Zdarsky's art. And I think just those two just worked like perfectly together because I really do think like they were just of one like mind when they were
Hmm.
creating the story. But I'm blown away by this. Like, I should have read this sooner than I did. But it's called Sex Criminals. Like, am I gonna really buy this book in the store? People are gonna think I'm weird. Like, it was like that kind of thing. And the way it's written, it's again, it's like Saga. Like, they're unashamed. They're not going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they don't care. It's just they're just writing people, right? This
Mhm.
is like who we are. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of here, right? And it was absolutely fantastic. So, while it is wildly over the top, it's sexual, it's salacious, it's devious. I perfect timing,
Oh,
kiddo.
what timing!
Perfect hat,
Well,
kiddo. I absolutely love it.
yeah, that
I'll
is
be up in a little bit, Squirt. Okay. Want to come say hi real quick?
yes.
Can
Have
you
her
come
come
say
say
hi?
hi. Yes, please. Before I put
It's
this in.
pajama day. You want to show people your awesome pajamas?
R- There we
Yeah.
go.
Here we go.
Yes.
Here we go. Let me
Oh,
move the mic here, Squirt.
okay. I just want to make sure
You
it's not
ready?
me. That's just.
Oh, you want to put your hood up?
Oh, hello. Hi, Swaggins. Oh, look
Yeah.
at that. Little animal ears we got going on here.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Can you say bye?
Couldn't even get a wave. Dang it. One thing I do want to add quickly, Joe, is that this is a book that I remember hearing Chip talk about in an interview. Like this has like a crazy following too. Like people dress up as like these characters, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or is it this? No, yeah, because Paper Girls is Brian K. Vaughan. Yeah, this is the one that
Yes.
has the crazy following, and people dress up as these characters. I know, look, that happens with Harley Quinn in Batman, and all these, plenty of comic book characters. But I guess this one has like a really crazy, deep cult following, and for like
Well,
31 issues.
yeah. I mean, like the pacing's perfect. It's just perfect storytelling, and
Mhm.
it won an Eisner Award, and I get it. It should have won multiple Eisner Awards. It's absolutely tremendous. But like, what I want you to do is I got a picture here because, like,
Yeah.
again, it's thought provoking, as I've said that this book is, as smart as it is. Like I said, it's also juvenile, but it's perfect. So throw this pick up on the
I
screen
was
here
worried about
because,
this coming up before
well, I know
Valentine.
we we
Yeah,
we 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 timed it perfectly here, but
yeah.
for those watching,
This is make sure
there's
kids aren't around.
this was a series of panels that I just sort of strung together here. But it's got different creative sex positions here. Brimping, the
Mhm.
Dutch microwave, whatever the hell Queeps is, the user agreement, the fleshy light switch. I mean, like, and there's little pictures that go along with this. It's not gonna play well over audio, but for those watching, it is just fucking perfect. Like,
Yeah, this is a lot. I got this is the ET sex move.
yeah,
That's something. The user agreement.
I
That
love the user agreement. That one
yeah.
cracks me up.
I think the brimping is the one though. Like when you see it, it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
all right. Who I don't know who thought of this.
And the fact that, like, the drawing, like, he went very rudimentary with, like, the
Yeah,
drawings, as if like someone was drawing this, um, in middle school or high school,
yeah.
um, is absolutely fantastic. So, like, yeah, it's bonkers, it's off the wall. But what all these panels are alluding to is actually, uh, is part of a larger picture, which I'll get into, in a moment. So it was a funny way to describe, or to help a character get through something that was pretty serious in the moment.
Mm.
So it was like some great levity in the mix, in the midst of something that was a little heavier. So, like, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, just a little like peek behind the curtain. Joe shared this image with me, and then he shares it with the guys in the DSG. Not our buddy Keith, who obviously would understand why like this would be kind of thing would be done. Some guys asked, "Did you draw this, Joe?" Like because they see like all this like basic artwork, and they just think, "Why is this in a comic? Why would anybody read this?" And it's like, well, this of course this kind of thing would happen. This is essentially like an actor playing a bad actor in a movie. Like this, like Chip Zdarsky's having a character draw poorly because like that's what the character, like their capabilities are. They draw poorly.
Yeah,
But it's a funny, it was a weird thing. Like I wanted to
yeah.
mention to you. Stupid.
And so to get to the story a little bit now, after
Mhm.
start talking about all the other stuff, is that as the synopsis indicates, the main characters are Susie and John. They're like the two primary characters, and
Mm.
Susie's who were introduced first. And basically what happens is that when she has an orgasm, time stops. So she can like
Is
move
that how it
through
works?
her world. Well, I wouldn't know. Uh, or my wife wouldn't know. Man, whatever.
Wow. Wow.
You can't make fun of yourself, Nick. You can't make fun of anybody, right?
Right, of course.
But so she's able to like everything is in a standstill, but she's able to move around the world, and kind of do whatever she wants, and then
Mm,
before she got a certain amount of time before time kicks back up again, and so she thinks she's the only one with this power, or this ability, I should say, and it's a literal and metaphorical self-discovery, throughout the first, issue,
mm,
when we're introduced to this. And one thing I love about this too is like when this happens, like Zdarsky's art just goes like next level because he uses all these like vibrant colors that are in this sort of hazy trippiness that sort of like are layered over the panels, to kind of indicate that she's reached a certain level of enlightenment,
mm,
and so like from an artistic point of view, that's really awesome. And so when she meets John, who's the other main character and who's her main love interest, in this, she thinks she's the only one, but then when they hook up, they're in this world together, like everything else is stopped, and they're looking at each other like, what the fuck are you doing here, right?
hmm,
Because they think they're the only ones, and so they have this this great conversation about it, and what we learn, and this is a fundamental difference, or not fun. This is a classic difference between male and females, where they each have their own name for what happens when they
mm,
sort of ascend to this next level. Susie calls it the quiet, and she calls it the quiet because her childhood and her backstory is a little fucked up,
mm,
and she's a lot going on. So when she goes there, it's like it's the only way she's able to sort of get peace and quiet. She calls it the quiet.
hmm,
Him being a fucking dumb Neanderthal male like the rest of us,
mm.
his word for it is cum world.
Wow.
And she just sort of gives him that look when he says it, that that same look my wife gives me whenever I say something stupid. Is, are you fucking serious? That,
Mm.
yeah, and it's just because I think at our core level we're all 8-year-old, 10-year-old boys, like our minds constantly in the gutter, right?
Speak for yourself. Come on. I'm talking about a highly educated book today. By the way, a quick side note: I think if you play Davy Deep Throat in the background, you might actually get that experience for the first time. I've heard that works. Could be wrong. But
We'll give it a go.
yeah.
But I just thought this was a fun, like little, just difference nod to like the difference between the two sexes. One is extremely, not to say that women can't be juvenile, because we get a lot of that in this as well. But like the quiet and cum world, like two wildly, completely different names for the same thing. I just that cracked me up. But
Mm.
the premise of that alone is just a tremendous metaphor, right? Like sex, climaxing, orgasming, ascending a different level. This sort of takes it, okay, like takes that premise and says, well, what if it is another level and everything else just stops, figuratively and literally, and you can sort of go about your business, and nothing sort of changes. I just thought, again, like, this is the stuff. It's wildly juvenile, but it's also really smart, and thought provoking.
Mm.
So it's, as the synopsis indicated, it's called Sex Criminals because John and Susie use the quiet, as a way to be able to rob banks without getting caught. But they're not just criminals for the sake of being criminals. So to tell you a little bit about Susie and her backstory is she runs a bookstore. She loves books.
Mm.
The reason why she loves books is because when she was younger, her father was senselessly killed
Oh.
by someone going postal, at the bank that her dad worked with, and he just happened to be a casualty, right?
Oh.
And so her father dies. Her mother goes into a tailspin, drinking. She's got no time for her. Susie discovers herself for the first. She discovers the quiet for the first time, and she is just like, she has 1,000 questions, and she tries going to her mom. Her mom calls her a whore. She's trying to look this stuff up, but no one really wants to talk to her about it. So Susie does what her character has become, is someone who likes to research, learn things, gain
Mm.
knowledge. She goes to the whore of the school, Says, well, this person must know everything there is to know about sex. And that's where we get all those panels of brimping and the user agreement and all those different things, because they're in a bathroom stall and she's saying, well, this is what you need to know, kid. And she starts going all over the over all these sex positions, and it freaks Susie out. So she goes to the library and she just starts researching, and that's where she gets this love of books. So now she's an adult. She runs a bookstore. It's about to be foreclosed on. And so this,
Gotcha.
right? So she's throwing a fundraising party. This is where she meets John. This is where they hook up. This is where they discover they have the same ability. And then he gets the idea, well, hey, why don't we rob some banks, get the money, and we can save, the bookstore. And so it's a wild ride from this point on. And as you'd expect, right, there's consequences to this. Not by what happens in, when time stops, because no one they can't be detected, right? But there's a sex police. And so now there's a trio of bad guys, if you will, that are hell bent on stopping John and Susie at all costs. And the leader of the group, they call her Kegel Face, because she's always got this scrunched up face, as they described, that looks like Tilda Swinton, which I thought was hilarious, right?
Okay.
And it's just great. And so they find out that it's not just the two of them that have this ability. There's a whole network of people that have this same ability. So where the story goes from there is absolutely tremendous, and bonkers. And so, like, they're not really criminals for all that long, but that's sort of like, the premise and how things really get jump started and sort of catapults the story going forward. And so, to tell you a little bit about John, I love his character too, because he's a little screwed up. He's a lot screwed up. He's got a lot of mental and social things. But one of the things that I love about his character is that when he goes to his quiet place, he also works at a bank. He hates his jobs and his boss so much that every day at the same time, he goes into the restroom, whacks it, stops time, goes into his boss's office, drops a deuce into the plant, leaves, and he's been doing this for so long, and the boss just gets furious and puts up, and this is where Zdarsky's art is brilliant, because you just see like bulletin boards of like the boss putting up memos and stuff like that, to the plant pooper, blah, 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 blah. It's absolutely hysterical. So it's little things like that, but it's also about the relationship, the ups and the downs of all relationships that couples go through, but especially John and Susie. And I can't recommend this book enough. It is just, again, it's similar to Saga in that sense, where it can be really funny, really devious, really salacious, but it's also much smarter than you think it is, and thought provoking than you think it is.
That's I wouldn't have guessed that coming. I mean, look, I thought it would have been quality. I mean, obviously Matt Fraction, the Hawkeye series. For those who Joe's talking about Hawkeye with Matt Fraction, and that name may sound familiar. The Hawkeye show was based on the comic series written by Matt Fraction. So like, this is someone who you mentioned before, Joe, like, who you need to read more of. I'm right there with you, because clearly, like, this guy's got like quite a bit of quality stuff out there. And this is also, we talk about whether this is going to be turned into a show or a movie. This has been optioned for a show, but there's been no real traction on it, right? Because I think it got optioned in like 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked with name drop brag, when we talked with Scott Snyder the first time about Noctera, he had talked about how that had already been picked up. I mean,
Right.
So he said, and same thing with talking with Sean too. Like, a lot of these times, and hell, I even think Chip said this himself. These things get picked up, and then they just sort of lay there.
Well,
for a while,
that's
right?
a lot of these, like Newburn, that's not the case, because Chip's working
Yes.
on that for the pilot, but like that doesn't necessarily. But the pilot stuff, I also don't. That's the side of it that Joe and I don't firmly have a grasp on yet. Maybe someday we'll understand it more so. But yeah, so there's a lot there. But this is one, like, I would love. So do you think a show would make more sense for this, or a movie?
Oh, you'd have to. I mean, 31 issues. There's so much there, so much nuance, so
Well, could it
much
be
stuff.
2 movies?
You're not gonna split this into 2 movies. You know what I mean? This needs to
Makes
be
sense.
a show, right? Because it's, it's not, It's not Lord of the Rings. It's not Harry Potter. It's not something that you can just tell within 2 hours or 4, right? Like it needs to
Mhm.
just be like a series of episodes that you tell over the course of 2 or 3 seasons.
Well, I think if Harry Potter was like popular now and didn't have the movies, I wouldn't be stunned if that got turned into a show, just so you can go into so much more detail. But that's a side note. That's a conversation for another day. I think you had one last thing you wanted to do right before we get
Yep,
into my book. Yeah.
yep. So I just want to go over a couple of sex tips from the
Mm,
sex criminals,
mm.
and I've got a couple, just 2 boxes here. I'm going to read because I was reading these to Megan. She was cracking up, and I think, well, you know what? These are important facts to know. Okay, so let's see.
Wow. First one that I just pulled up: have sex while standing up for the rights of gays and lesbians to marry their partners.
Yeah, no, that's not where I'm going. This is
That's
going to be, but that is that is a great
that
one.
is
So
wow. That is
here we
something.
go. This first is for the guys. Okay, so do not refer to your partner's vagina as baby sleeve, the good sarlacc, meat vault, the asshole's companion, downtown alley, the uncanny valley, Mr. Nasty School for Boys, the holistic healer, the
Mm.
matrimonial hole, Sandra, number 36, Badge of Honor, Boner Hotel, Mystic Pizza, or Natural Fleshlight.
Mystic Pizza. The badge of honor, though, is
now,
wow.
now for the women, this is for you, and this is very important because men
Well, this could be for men too.
are very,
You know,
yeah, right.
just like
Well,
women. Yeah.
regardless, right?
Yes.
Very sensitive, right? So do not refer to your partner's penis as, interesting, sexual Gary Jr., tickle stick, Mr. Nuisance, the crying noodle,
Oh my.
stink peen, adorable, wubby nubby, is it in, discount hot dog, non-detachable dildo, non-vibrating dildo, dildo that suddenly becomes soft, cute little thing, or ha ha ha. I was reading those to Megan last night. She was fucking
uh,
rolling.
kid's not in the room with you as you're reading that,
No,
right?
no, 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 no.
Mm,
I
yeah,
bet. Yeah,
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 yeah.
good. All right, because I heard her a second ago, and I was like, "Oh boy, this would
Yeah.
be
No,
well,
we would have scrapped that bit.
yeah." I'm sorry. Wait, Dad, did you say tickle thing? What is that? I'm sorry. That's terrible. I'm gonna rot in hell for that one.
Yeah, you are, son of
Yeah.
a bitch.
Uh, well, I don't think you need to say anymore. Is the and look at that, we're getting more from the sex bot over on Twitch, so that is
Yeah, yeah. Sex
outstanding.
bot is real active.
Well, now let's move over to Sweet Paprika because well, actually, so I'm talking about Sweet Paprika today, but one thing that I wanted to ask you before we move into mine, you thought that I'm gonna have more like risque art in my stuff. You send over the image that we showed to the people that are watching and not listen to us in audio form. Do you so like would you say in terms of like like obviously the stuff that's talked about and the idea behind it, sex criminals and everything like that, it seems like it's I don't know in terms of like how I guess raunchy I guess we'll put it. Would you say like at a 7?
Oh, I might put it at an 8.
Okay.
I mean, it's there's a lot of it's almost to the level of like the amount of what you kind of get in Saga. You know what I mean? Like
Got it. Okay.
right? You know what I mean? Like you get it like when people are, having sex, there's pictures of, there's panels of orgies and things like that. I mean, like they don't hold back, but it's not like constantly um in your face, I should say.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
That okay, understood. So, Sweet Paprika, the book I'm talking about today, it is absolutely in your fucking face the whole time. And I mentioned how when I read Crossed by Garth Ennis, and I'm blanking on the writers who took over after he did, but I've said how like reading that series, it gets really gross. And like, I felt like at times, like, I don't want Lauren to see me reading this stuff.
Well, I had to hide. I
Yeah.
had to hide my book sometimes too.
Yeah, and Sweet Paprika is right in that realm, but for definitely for different reasons. So this is written and drawn by Mirka and Dolfo, who we've talked about on the show more than once. And Mercy, I think, was the first Mirka and Dolfo book talked about on here, which of course you did that a while back. I think it was the first one I read for a trade too.
Yeah.
And we should be getting more from the Mercy world at some point down the line. One would think. Colors are by Simon Tessuto, and letters by Fabio Amarella. This is an ongoing title over at Image. The first trade actually should be in stores by now. It's coming out this month. I know that. So it's the first 6 issues. The 7th issue has come out this month. Actually just read that leading up to the show because I was a little behind on it. But just one issue, I guess. But anyways, the synopsis. Paprika is a successful businesswoman, a New Yorker of Italian origin, which, might be trying to refer to Mirka Andolfo. I don't know where she lives, but she is Italian. Job and career consume her, forcing her to neglect her personal needs as well as her friends and family. Her heart is broken from a previous relationship and its consequences, and a rigid upbringing has made her a very introverted person. She wants a romantic relationship, but she doesn't know what she's doing. There's a lot more to the synopsis. If you guys want to go check it out on Image's site or League of Comic Geeks or whatever, but I don't want to waste too much time on the synopsis itself because it goes into some of the things I want to dig into. So our main characters, we heard Paprika already. She is the CCO of Infernum Press. So it's chief creative officer. So she's basically like Axel Alonso for this fictitious world. So I could maybe, if I call her Axel in the course of all this, I apologize for flipping. But then we have Dill, who is a delivery boy for Heaven's Express. And every woman at Infernum Press wants to sleep with this guy. Now, an important detail to note that I don't know if it was covered in the synopsis. This is a world of angels and devils. Period. Like, it's like you either look like like a better version of Stan Zanzibar in from Marjorie Finnegan, in crazy ass horns, or you look like an angel. In that doesn't mean they can't have interracial relationships and stuff like that. That happens, but it's your angel or a devil. Then there's also Bean, who's Dill's adorable dog. Paprika is a devil. Dill is an angel. Then we get Zataro, who is the executive producer at Purgatory Press. And he's in charge of the film adaptation of Infernum Press's hit series, Spice It Up, which is written by a guy named Burnett, who is an angel. And he, and again, that book is really important. And we find out that there's a lot more to this character in terms of like the larger story in Paprika's life. Same goes for Dill, same goes for Zataro. Then we have Paprika's father, who is a total asshole. And honestly, when you were talking about what was the main Susie? We talk about Susie's mom, her being like calling Susie a slut and everything. Zataro's dad is like, it means Zataro. Paprika's dad is even worse. He is a devil. And then we have Anisette, who is an angel, and she is an employee at Infernum Press. Not as important. Like Paprika's dad and Anisette are kind of more tertiary characters, I would say. Burnett's kind of an important supporting character. Then it's really, and same with Bean. Well, Bean doesn't talk or anything. He's just a really, really adorable dog. But it's really Paprika, Dill, and Zataro who are kind of more at the center of things. But Anisette does kind of play a role in what's going on. She's one of those employees at Infernum Press that has slept with Dill. But as I said in the synopsis, Paprika is very, very successful when it comes to her work. I mean, there's a reason she's running this company. She was the one who brought forth Spice It Up. Now it's getting turned into a movie. It's made this company what it is today. But she is a shrewd businesswoman. She does not take crap from anybody. And like the first moments we see her in the work, I believe these are the first moments we see in the workplace. It's definitely in the first issue. She walks in on a meeting where they're talking about Spice It Up and what they're certain things that they're trying to do, like marketing wise, just continue to increase sales and blah blah blah. There's this dude talking, and she walks in the room with a coffee, and this guy starts giving her the business. I think he's like a third-party company guy because he doesn't realize who she is. And then she just fucking loses her shit on this guy. And what's so interesting about Mirka Andolfo's art in this series is like she loves to do like anime-esque type stuff, like where we would see like you know, we see this one character, like the character who just did something stupid. He kind of looks the same as we saw him originally, but then Paprika will lose her shit, and then her like entire head will take up like the background of the panel, and you'll see this guy's like little, like he's like kind of sheepishly like, oh, what the fuck's happening right now? And her face is all kind of contorted in a weird way. So it's got that, like, you know how like with Pokemon, how, well, you're too old for Pokemon, I forget. No, but your kid likes Pokemon. You know what I'm talking
I'm
about.
familiar with
Yeah.
Pokemon.
So you know what I'm talking about with that kind of art styling, and it is anime manga sort of thing. So she kind of rotates between the two. But like the default art kind of has like the art that's behind me right now on the green screen for those watching, that is a variant cover. I couldn't find a cover that worked well for the green screen. But with her art, it kind of has like a 3D kind of like squeaky feeling to it, like squeaky clean feeling to it. But like obviously this book is very dirty, and that's partially, you know, also Simon Tessuto's color work on all this too. Outstanding pairing. But for everything that's going on in her work situation where she's doing really well, doesn't have friends, doesn't have a social life really at all. Her parents, you know, are like her dad is a lot, and her dad definitely has real estate in her head whenever she's trying to do anything. And you know, where her social life is an issue, what's killing her is like, it's not just that like she doesn't have people to hang out with or a boyfriend or whatever. It's just she's a sexually frustrated individual, and that's what this series is all about. So where you're at like operating at an 8, this is definitely at a 10 in terms of the sexual stuff, because you're not getting that on every single page, maybe not even every other page, but when you get it,
Yeah.
it's like, oh wow, it is friggin' nuts. And what's really funny too in this is like we get 2 sex scenes in the first issue of Sweet Paprika. The first one to me was like very like a standard kind of thing. Like you get people like 2 bodies kind of intertwined in, you know, a different way, whatever. But like you're not really seeing much. Then Paprika has this what is it, like a daydream moment or fantasy moment where sees an individual and then just thinks like, oh, what if I just had meaningless sex with this person that's in front of me right now? And it goes from it's like having like the idea of having sex, like that's coming, and then it turns into like, whoa, like you want more than just sex, like you want to get weird, don't you? And it's not like, again, this is like comics, like we're not just hearing what she's saying, she's not just like talking about it. Like Mirka Andolfo draws what Sweet Paprika would like to see done to her, and it is a lot. And it's kind of like that throughout the series. It's just like you get these, you know, here and there are other people who are doing their own thing, because Dill has like his dad is very sexually active. You know, he's like his stepdad, but he's divorced. Dill is very active as well. But everything that happens with Paprika is definitely turned up to like an 11, because she's just someone who like her entire life, because like as a kid, like she was like, you know, thinking about like having kids, that kind of thing, like playing dolls and stuff. She's been so like sexually frustrated though, because she's just been told like, you can't do these things, otherwise you're like, you know, that's wrong, like you're a whore, like you said, or whatever, like it's just wrong, can't have these impure thoughts. We find out too that there's quite a few people who are hypocrites throughout the course of this story.
Yeah.
But I'll kind of leave it at that. But there's, you know, look, there's business that's, you know, kind of at risk in all this too. Of course, it's an important part of the character of Paprika. Emotions, you know, different people that she cares about, doesn't care about, and how they're kind of coming in and out of her life and kind of messing things up in this great plan that she's kind of developed that seems to be there for the taking for her, but she might shoot herself in the foot. She's trying to figure all this out, but mainly at like the crux of it, this is all about like a woman kind of trying to find her sexuality and being allowed to experiment and enjoy her things, and enjoy what goes on with sex. God, I'm not even thinking about some of the wording with some of this stuff, but it's like shit. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a really fast, really easy read, and just like my one warning thing is like, don't read it with kids around, because again, keep like wherever you put it, like make sure kids can't get to it. Like It's a lot, and look, you talk about how like your book feels like it's written by a woman. This one is, so it's just an interesting look into like what one woman maybe deals with on her own. Because any story that we kind of see, like it's stuff that individuals usually care about. And when we get an image book too, these are going to be more personal because it's all 100% creator owned. So there's a reason America Andolfo is writing this, and we've both talked about her enough and how awesome she is. But this is something, man.
Yeah, her art's always been very sexual. Like even in Mercy, right? It's a
Oh
horror
yeah,
book, and there was still some panels and just overall, and her covers too. She's done some tremendous cover art as well. But yeah, I just I wanted to read this when it came out, and you called dibs. So
Hmm.
I'm glad you did, because I think these two books back to back, are just an absolute tremendous way to get everyone goosed up,
Mhm.
for Valentine's Day. And yeah, fuck, man, good shit, good
Yeah.
shit.
And as far as like movie or TV, um, I I don't know. It's so early on in the process here. Something tells me that it would,
I would say TV. That would be my gut
I
because you
would
could have a lot of fun with this.
yeah, I don't like I yeah, the thing too is like the devil angel kind of stuff. I think that would be kind of complicated if you're going to try like keeping that and making it look good too.
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess default I would kind of say TV, but
you could also make it an animated series too. You know.
yeah, if you made an animated series, it's gonna be fucking nuts. I think people would really like it if it was an animated series. Yeah, that would be my choice. If you can make it one thing, I would want it to be an animated TV series because it would be
Yeah,
wild.
yeah.
But we talk about how this is like a Valentine's Day special, but also it's been 30 years for Image. They celebrated their 30th anniversary, like right around it was our February solicit.
Hmm.
And just looking at the books we talked about today in What's New, we talked about Radiant Black, we talked about The Scorched, King of Spies, all different books from one another. But definitely ones you could see kind of being under one like this the same publishing company. King of Spies maybe a little more separated than from the other two, but then you have these two books that are so different themselves
Yeah.
from those three, and it's just like that's one of the reasons why Image is just like we said we like. There's just so much from Image to read. I know AWA is kind of doing that too, where they're getting a range of books. Dark Horse gets a range to some extent, but not to me quite as much as Image does. And it's like there's a reason why we talk about their books so much because they have so much different shit and so many different voices, so many different art styles. It's just like if you're gonna read from one publisher, it's Image, 100%.
I mean, we're not even a month and a half into 2022, and I'm already Image is already out, just about outpacing every other book I've read 2 to 1. Like the next, like it's Image at 50 something books, and Marvel's not even at 30 yet.
Yeah,
Right? Like that's you know,
that's the way
yeah.
they're that good, and I don't keep the track of it like you do, but I'm sure I would be right in a similar range. And actually, I was at Barnes and Noble the other day, and trying to see things that maybe for the show. I picked up a Marvel book because I actually never read the Hellfire Gala, and I would like to go back and just
Mm.
kind of see what went on with that. That's of course Marvel. And then I was like, okay, but I want to pick up a second one because they do deals and stuff. I picked up another Image book, Big Girls. I haven't read it, but it's like Image put it out. I'm interested.
Well,
I'm going to give it a shot.
yeah,
I had seen it before and thought about picking it up, so it's like, why not? Let's
yeah.
and maybe it'll be a TLDR book. We'll see. But anyways, we have to get to our latest installment to the show, the Failed Superhero Club, Joe. And I promised you before the show, we have a big one today. I'm very excited for this one. The Super Sons of Batman and Superman. So this is, of course, being pulled from the book. I should write the title of the book down so I don't have to pull it up every time. The League of Regrettable Superheroes by John Morris. So one might think, oh, well, wait, Nick, isn't John Kent doing really well? Hasn't Joe been talking about Superman, son of Kal-El, a bunch? Yeah, you have. And haven't you been talking about Robin on here a lot? Absolutely. These are not those individuals. These are different people. These characters were created by Bob Haney and Dick Dillon. They debuted. Wow. Okay. Debuted in. You know what? We've gone through all this stuff today. I'm going to cut you a break on that one. Um, Everything we've gone through, I don't know how your head could be anywhere else. Debuted in World's Finest Comics, Volume 1, Issue 215, is from DC still, January 1973. And these characters were created in an attempt to keep Batman and Superman relevant with young readers as Marvel rose within the demo. Um, it's set in the 70s, so it kind of just gets started right away. So it doesn't really give any room to explain how Batman and Superman suddenly became parents of like teenage, college age type kids. And they do have wives whose faces apparently we never see in the course of the series. There is something important that explains some of all this in a second. I'll get to it, but I do want to give you a couple other details. You got Clark Kent Jr. That's the character's name for the Superman son, Clark Kent Jr. And Joe, do you have a guess for what his superhero name is?
Dick Dillon.
No, close though. Close. Superman Jr.
Yeah.
So Bruce Wayne's son. Do you want to take a guess? I'm not going to tell you. Do you want to take a guess? What his name?
We're gonna go with Bruce Wayne Jr.
And what about his Superman name?
Batman Jr.
Yep, and they wear pretty much the same exact outfits as their dads. I don't know who thought, I don't know how these guys thought this was a good idea, but whoever okayed this, I'm even more curious what the fuck was going through their head. This. I understand trying to compete with Marvel and young audience and all that stuff, but this is just complete laziness on their end.
John Man. I'm still that one still fucking floors me, right?
Yeah,
The creativity of these creators, and it seems like the 60s and 70s just produced a shit ton of terrible, unimaginative fucking comics and characters.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we're seeing in this book.
I think that you can go back in time. We're looking at alternate universe, different things. There's a lot of important shit. Obviously, we'd want to see. But one thing for me that I would like a small thing. What would we talk about Image? What would the world be like if creator-owned comics, if Image didn't happen? Would creator-owned comics look the same? Would we still be getting would comics even still be around? Because there's just now writers and artists can do so much different shit. And as much as Marvel and DC do get hamstrung versus the other places, they still they've improved in time. So I would be really interested what that would look like if we never got Image, because I just don't think comics might not be a thing necessarily anymore. It's just because there's not enough good. There wouldn't be enough good stuff. Creators wouldn't be allowed to create. But as I mentioned, this is created in the 70s. These guys like Batman and Superman out of nowhere have teenage, college age sons, and it's what the fuck? How did this happen? Well, because in the main books, you're still not seeing the kids in the stories. In the end, Joe, Clark Jr. and Bruce Jr. were revealed to be computer simulations. So it was talk about future state being a waste of your time. What the fuck is that?
Poochie has to go back to his home planet now. That's what this is.
And why did Clark and Bruce do this? Because they were the ones that did this. It wasn't like someone playing a trick on them or whatever. They wanted to see if they could be fathers and crime fighters at the same time.
Jesus. Yeah, because that's what Bruce Wayne wants. He wants to be a father, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wants,
yeah. So awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, but hey, you know what? We could see these characters again someday because they were computer simulations. You never know.
Yeah, I'm surprised this never took off. It's fucking brilliant.
Hey, who's writing? I forget who wrote the Superman and Who's doing the Superman and Robin special? But if the Superman and Robin special, I think it hasn't come out yet, right? That's this month that it's coming out, or did it already come out?
I don't think it's come out yet.
Okay, well, if it's not, John Kent and Damian Wayne versus Superman Jr. and Batman Jr., if that's not what this is, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna write a strongly worded email to DC Comics. I need these characters back now.
Yeah, it'd be tremendous. Yeah, we must have that.
Seriously, if you want to have some fun though, I bringing them back now would be a good gag, but it's
April Fool's right around the corner. You never know.
That's true. But that will do it for us this week. On Change My Mind, we actually did comic book related stuff, kind of the reboot, refurbishing the 10 best characters under that ilk, whether you're looking at it from the movie side, TV side, or you're looking from comics to movies or comics to TVs. I've heard it both ways. You guys are on season 4 now, right?
We are, but our break this week is Billy will be at the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right. Brag.
Yep.
We have some stuff cooking. We will be letting you guys know when we firm up exactly what our game plan is. But until next week, Joe, stay sexy.
You know it.